As some of you know, I played Persona 5 on the PS4 a few years back. I made a video called I finally played a Persona game because that's what happened. Since then, not only did an enhanced game come out which was called Persona 5 Royal, it also got numerous ports. For some reason I always want to call it Persona 5 Royale, but anyways. Since I have Game Pass, I thought I'd give Persona 5 Royal a go on the PC and on the Xbox Series X. There's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, I wanted to see how the game looked and performed on my PC at 1080p, and the Xbox Series X in 4K compared to the PS4 version I played, which was 1080p but at 30 FPS. Secondly, I also wanted to see how the keyboard and mouse controls were, since that's something that often gets messed up on games not originally intended for the PC. Well, I can say that I have some very favorable things to say on all those categories, and then there was even a bit of a surprise, which I'll get to soon enough. Persona 5 has been out for a while now, as in like the first PS3 game, and because of its popularity, I'm not going to go through what, Persona 5 is. I kind of already did that anyways with that video I did earlier that I mentioned, so you can watch that or just Google Persona 5 plot or wiki, and you'll see the basic synopsis of what this game is about. But in terms of gameplay, it is a JRPG, and it mixes some very interesting fantasy elements with some very realistic looking elements, as you'll see with its Tokyo setting, but also its more outlandish looking dungeons. So let's talk about performance and graphics. My PC is relatively new enough. It has an AMD Ryzen 5 3600X, 16GB of RAM, and my graphics card is a bit old school. It's an NVIDIA GTX 970 by Gigabyte, which came pre-overclocked. The game runs perfectly smooth at 60 FPS all times, and it doesn't matter what happens on the screen, and the resolution is at 1920 by 1080. That's with all the graphical settings to the max, not that there's a lot you can change. I'm sure the system actually has frame rate to spare, but yeah, my monitor doesn't do more than 60 Hz. But since the PS4 version ran at 30 FPS, I'm very happy with how the game runs. On the Xbox Series X, it's the same story basically. The game pretty much looks the same, except it's in 4K, which is nice. I didn't see any frame rate dips whatsoever. I would be really disappointed if there was. I mean, this was originally a PS3 game. Overall, I really like the extra smoothness compared to the PS4 version, and yeah, I'm glad that basically the games on the PC and Xbox are equivalents of each other. Except the resolution is different just because, well, I have a 1080p monitor on my PC. I'm actually wondering if my computer could run this game at 4K. I'm gonna guess with probably. I don't see why this game should be so tough on hardware. In terms of controls, I quite like how the PC port handles mouse and keyboard. Now that's something that gets screwed up all the time, and there's so many bad ways of doing it. Like sometimes I see people, I see games map the camera, like the right analog stick, to some of the keys, and that's like, oh jeez. The mouse handles the camera in this case, thankfully. It's very intuitive and well done. Like, so if you're just walking around and then, you engage in battle, you don't even need to move your left hand. You can just, hit the appropriate key as shown, and it works very smoothly that way. Other keys that are close to WASD, like, for example, F, H, space, tab, C, some other ones, they get used as well. And since they're all near the movement keys, it all kind of makes sense. Except I don't really get why you have to press tab to access the menu. I think it's more logical if that was escape, but, whatever. Or, with some games where tab is like the character inventory and then escape is more like how you access system settings, but whatever. It's not like you can't learn it. The point is that the game actually feels normal to play without a controller. And you always get reminded anyways because key bindings always get shown on screen. So if you're switching back and forth between controller and keyboard, it's not like you're completely lost and have to look up all the key bindings. Another thing I also like is that, for example, if you're in the menus, you can use the cursor keys to navigate menus. And as I kind of already mentioned before, you can rebind the keys if you find some of the if you want to change something, I suppose. I don't think it's really necessary to change though, but I would recommend maxing out the mouse sensitivity, because if you don't, you'll be waiting for years for the camera to rotate. The one thing I was surprised by but I did check on was cross-play, or more specifically cross-save functionality. I figured both games are on the Xbox ecosystem, if you want to use that term. So, why shouldn't that work? Or shouldn't that not work? Well, the developers thought the same thing because the save games actually sync between the Xbox and the PC versions. I thought that was very convenient. This doesn't work with the Steam version apparently, so that's a bit of a bummer. But yeah, that function's great, and it works pretty seamlessly. It's just nice having that choice of just being able to go back and forth. And because controller sensitivity and mouse sensitivity is different, it actually, like your keyboard specific stuff will not change your controller specific settings when you switch back and forth on the systems on the same save game. So I think that was actually very well thought out. So yeah, overall I really like how the games play on both PC and Xbox Series X. I like how you can switch between the different systems and still play the same save game. Plus the previous PlayStation exclusive now being available on other systems is just a good thing overall. I'm always rooting for well done ports, especially for PC, and Japanese games on the Xbox is always something to be happy about. Obviously Persona 5 Royal has been released on the Switch too, so that's going to make a lot of people happy there. I don't know how that runs, probably doesn't look as good, but hey, the point is that it's available on pretty much everything that's current. So that's what I think of the Xbox and PC versions of Persona 5 Royal. Let me know what you think if you also have this game. I just want to remind everyone that I have a second channel also, YellowSuperNintendo 2. Get it? Because it's the second channel. I post things on there that don't quite fit the main channel, so if you're interested, check that out. There's everything from short clips to videos as long as some of the ones on this channel too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.